From Bowling Green State University and the Institute for the Study of Culture and Society, this is BG Ideas.
I'm going to show you this with a wonderful experiment.
You're listening to the Big Ideas podcast, a collaboration between the Institute for the Study of Culture and Society and the School of Media and Communication at Bowling Green State University. I'm Jolie Sheffer, Professor of English and American Culture Studies, and your host for Big Ideas. As always, the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of BGSU or its employees. Bowling Green State University and its campuses are situated in the Great Black Swamp and the Lower Great Lakes region. This land is the homeland of the Wyandot, Kickapoo, Miami, Potawatomi, Ottawa, and multiple other indigenous tribal nations, present and past, who were forcibly removed to and from the area. We recognize these historical and contemporary ties in our efforts toward decolonizing history, and we thank the indigenous individuals and communities who've been living and working on this land from time immemorial. Joining me today in the studio is Dr. Chris Witulski, an associate teaching professor of ethnomusicology at Bowling Green State University, who was an ICS Faculty Fellow in the fall of 2021. Regular listeners may remember our conversation about his research on the relationship between sound and identity in Arab American communities. Dr. Witulski also directs BGSU's Middle Eastern Music Ensemble. Members of the ensemble join us today in studio to perform Middle Eastern and Arab American music that Dr. Witulski curated as part of his fellowship project. Their set list includes music with connections to North Africa, the Mediterranean, and diasporic communities around the world. Thank you all for being here with me today. Let's start by introducing the ensemble. So as we go around, please tell us your name, your instrument, and what you're studying at BGSU.
Hello, my name is Michelle Tavel. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my major here is piano performance. In this ensemble, I sing.
Hello, my name is Samantha Stack Gonzalez. I am a voice performance major. My position in the ensemble is a singer.
Hi, my name is Hayden Mesnick. I am a composition major and I play accordion.
Hi, my name is Philippe Wagner. I'm a public relations major with a minor in Japanese language, and I play the Middle Eastern drum called a darbuka. My name is Harold Hayes. I am a composition major as well as an ethnomusicology major. I play a variety of instruments, but for this ensemble, I play trumpet and percussion.
And I'm Dr. Chris Witulski. I'm an ethnomusicologist, as you mentioned, and I'm the director of the ensemble. Today, I'm playing violin as well as electric bass, but kind of a fill-in as needed situation.
All right, so let's hear some music. So, Chris, first, tell us a little bit about the Middle Eastern Music Ensemble and some of the music you play and where you're playing it.
Yeah, so this has been an ensemble that we've run for a couple of years. We have a world music ensemble program at BGSU, and it basically rotates. We have a handful of different world music ensembles. The offerings are not always the same. When I'm directing, we make it we focus on Middle Eastern music, although we had a conversation, maybe we need to start a polka band. So we have this opportunity to do sort of whatever looks interesting at the moment. A couple of years ago, I was able to use the time during the ICS fellowship to transcribe a bunch of and learn a lot of Arab American music. We have one or two of those pieces here today, but also this particular set was from last semester. We're technically, as an ensemble, we're not running this semester, so this group of students has donated their time. This is outside of the class. But last semester, we focused on a lot of popular styles. There's this thing that happens within music programs in general. We often forget about popular music. And so what we have here is a lot of historical popular music, things from like the middle of the century, middle of the last century. We have some, and I'll talk about them specifically as the time comes, but some examples of music that's innovative in different ways for the time.
Right. Great. So what are we going to listen to first?
So I believe the first one we're going to do is Ose Shalom. I really enjoyed curating the music and pulling a lot of this music, listening widely and doing the transcriptions, figuring out how these things are going to work for the ensemble. But this particular example was brought to me by Michelle. And so instead of me introducing it, Michelle, would you mind talking a little bit about this piece?
Hi, yes. So I'm Jewish, and Jewish culture is incredibly important to me. I've been speaking Hebrew for my whole life, and Oseh Shalom is a Hebrew prayer that is said during multiple times of the day. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Be'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us and to all of Israel. And we say, Amen. The first time that I heard this melody with Oseh Shalom was actually brought to me by cantor Tamar Chavilio in Minnesota. She was an interim cantor at my synagogue at Temple Israel, and it's always stuck with me, and it's always been my favorite version of this song.
So tell us what's next and a little bit about this piece of music.
Yeah, so the next piece is called Ep7. It is an Egyptian piece of music, a very famous one, by a composer named Said Darwish, who early in the 20th century was important because he went and he studied in Europe, and he wanted to bring a lot of these sort of European sounds, opera sounds, upper popular sounds, symphonic sounds that he heard back to the Middle East. A lot of Middle Eastern music is monophonic, it's heterophonic, so like a lot of people play the same melody, but they play it in slightly different ways, different ornamentations. And what he started to do, not necessarily in these pieces, but in other ones, he started to add some of these harmonies that he was hearing, that everybody was hearing as they were listening to music under colonial European control. And so this particular piece is about workers kind of getting up in the morning, and it has this message of getting up, doing the job, but then it also has this tinge of resistance to it as people are pushing back against the wealthy and how they do the work, but they don't always seem to have enough, right? Without getting too far into the details. But this feature is Sam Steck, who's going to be singing. And let's see. I believe that's about what we need, yes?
Chris, what's our next piece of music?
This next piece is called Yasamira Ya Amira, and it's just a lovely little rumba that's by two women named Hanan and Fairuz. Fairuz is the very famous Fairuz, although this was recorded when she was very young. And she was singing with Hanan, who was an artist also from Lebanon, like Fairuz, but who traveled extensively in Latin America and North America. So when I was doing the research on Arab American music, her name came up often as somebody who would come through these circuits as people would perform at churches and things like that across the country. And so this, I came across it on YouTube. There's a recording, and you can, and it's just a recording of the album, like the record, and it just says Rumba, and then in Arabic it has the artist name. And so I had to do a little bit of research, not a ton, but I always just really liked it. And it's a good example of this kind of innovation where people weren't just listening to like classical Arab music, right? They were listening to Rumba, they were listening to Latin music, they were listening to American sounds. We'll hear some jazz in the next one, so let's go. Yeah. So the next piece is by Sami Al-Maghribi, whose name is actually Sami the Moroccan, and this is a piece from Morocco. I should say, when I was preparing for this ensemble last year, I was reading a wonderful book called Recording Sound, and it's a history by Chris Silver, who's at McGill, and he does a lot of work about, again, sort of colonialism in the music industry as it operates within this kind of popular music scene. And in this case, he writes a lot about North African Jewish musicians. And Sami Al-Maghribi is an example of this, and he's also somebody who had his ear on the times and sort of what was going on. This is called the Swing de Petit Taxi, which is the little taxi swing. And in Morocco, there are little taxis and big taxis. The big taxis take you to other cities, and the little taxis sort of drive you around. And basically, the words are along the lines of like, the little taxis are small and they're wonderful, and people are honest, and you just get in and they start the counter and you end up where you want to go. And it's like this really sort of happy light piece. But then at the end, it has this implication, again, because popular music always has this sort of like underlying implication. And the taxi takes you and the person you love to where you need to go. And then when necessary, they turn the counter off and wait. 1, 2, go.
Petit taxi صير مزيان أركبوا سير في الأمان Petit taxi صير مزيان أركبوا سير في الأمان Petit taxi لكتو من بقري ربنا تفارن يا وري Petit taxi لكتو من بقري ربنا تفارن يا وري يا والسلوم لبوبوم يمشي ورتي قاعدي زربان Petit taxi صغير مزيان أركب وسير في الأمان يمشي لي في البار دايز بالكوزونكا واضرب بسكار Petit taxi يمشي كيف الأكبار دايز بالكوزونكا واضرب بسكار لبال بيوم يواجههم رومان وفي دادمان Petit taxi صغير ومزيان أركب وسير في الأمان Petit taxi che quali alid Duma duma fu che quali shazid Petit taxi che quali alid Duma duma fu che quali shazid Hamalum tumu marsum Kala kalil wasadaran Petit taxi صغير ومزيان أركب وسير في الأمان Petit taxi مشكورن أناس الودد وداجز فرفوق أراس Petit taxi مشكورن أناس الودد وداجز فرفوق أراس يقفلون مركول يوم أربعة سردة طبيبان Petit taxi صغير ومزيان أركب وسير في الأمان Petit taxi ligani ali habat kudani waktu min bagi Petit taxi ligani ali habat kudani waktu min bagi wal bibti kul kalilitu Petit taxi shadil mizan Petit taxi صغير مزيان أركب وسير في الأمان Petit taxi صغير مزيان أركب وسير في الأمان.
So the last piece we'll do is going to be Anada Nada, which is by the Rahbani brothers, the same people who composed Yasamira, and this is Fairuz's family. And this piece was made famous by a singer named Sabah, who's Lebanese Palestinian. And so what we have here is an example of like a debka. It's a very up, very energetic piece of music, and so it makes an excellent way to finish out a set. 1, 2.
الندى ندى الندى والورد انفتل يا خدا وما ينيك يجبل يا لي هدا الندى ندى الندى والورد انفتل يا خدا وما ينيك يجبل يا لي هدا ندكني نداليم والزل بقى بيوان ندكني نداليم والزل يقى بيوان قازيني بقى يوان يبلاقي يا بدا الندى ندى الندى والورد انفتل يا خدا وما ينيك يجبل يا لي خدا دغني زنبستان والمبرزي النزان أندازي فبستان والنازي وبستان أمادي يكي جراني ويمي ولا خدا الناني الندى والورد انفتل يا خدا وما ينيك يجبل يا لي خدا يا دير بتدستير يا ما بيجتمع شرير يا دير بالأنداير تمير زما يا شاير زما يبيع بيغامك أنا ما يقبل دانا أنا دانير أنا دا والورد انفتي يا خدا أنا تلميكي يجبالي يلي يا خدا أنا دانير أنا دا والورد انفتي يا خدا وما يمنيك يجبالي يلي يا خدا بالي يلي يا خدا بالي يلي يا خدا.
Fantastic. So, for the students in the ensemble, anyone want to comment on kind of what you got out of being part of this ensemble and learning about some of this music that I'm imagining most of you didn't know prior?
So, I am Harold, and as someone who was gaining an interest in ethnomusicology last year, I wanted to sign up for the World Music Ensemble. I was actually Dr. Witulski's graduate assistant, and he convinced me to do it. So since then, I've been in some part involved with every World Music Ensemble here. And what I've really enjoyed about this one is that a lot of Arabic conceptions of the way melody and scales and even soloing function have, when I bring them back to work, like playing a lot of jazz, playing on things like that, it's improved my ability to solo, honestly. And as a composer, it's challenged a lot of my perspectives on melody or harmony or counterpoint. So that's been very valuable in my music, and I think it's shown. But also participating in this ensemble has given me an interest, combined with some other things, in the history of music in Egypt. So I really liked playing Al-Hawadi, for example, and that combines with my other research interests in like Christian communities in Egypt, especially in the first millennium. So that's been very valuable for me.
Okay. My name is Samantha, And I joined this ensemble kind of on a whim. I was in Dr. Witulski's, what's the exact name of the course? I'm sorry.
I believe it was the Area Studies course you were in, right?
Yes.
We have an Area Studies course within the College of Musical Arts where we can focus on one space instead of like a general world music class.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so he mentioned it in the Aerial Word Studies class, and I was like, you know what, I have an extra credit to spare. I'm gonna join the ensemble, and it's been an amazing experience. For my major, we're required to learn French, German, Italian. So this is a language that I've, was not well versed on at all. But with, of course, his help and direction, we picked it up and were able to learn all these pieces. One aspect about it specifically that I really liked was the amount of freedom and creative liberties that I don't usually get as a voice performance major. With classical music, it's very much so what's on the page is exactly how you do it. But here, especially with the improvisation sections, muels, you have a lot of creative liberty. So all of the muels that I've sung today, they all had kind of a basic structure as to what I was going to do, but I would say about 60% of it was improvised. I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to explore a genre that is not in my field house.
You want to answer? Yeah.
This is Michelle. I remember in my freshman year, I saw Middle Eastern Ensemble perform in the Global Arts Showcase. And I thought to myself, I have to join next year. Because it was all Arabic music and I loved it. And I thought to myself, what if I introduce to Dr. Witulski some Jewish music or some music in Hebrew from Israel or from around the world? Because I've grown up with this all my life and I've grown up with Middle Eastern music, and I think Dr. Witulski's class really taught me to broaden my horizons. And it's also taught me to get out of my comfort zone because I don't sing. I chant in synagogue, but that's not like classical singing like what Samantha does. But I wanted a break from piano for 1 hour of my week. And this is the right place to take it. And Dr. Witulski also taught me how to use a synthesizer, which I will not be doing again, but inevitably I will be. I also found a wonderful experience learning Arabic and hearing the similarities between Hebrew and Arabic because they're both Semitic languages and they're both from around the same area. So it was really interesting to bend the language and to hear what's new and what's different.
So my name is Hayden. I picked up accordion in January of this year, 2023. It was for my friends' pirate metal bands. They were playing the music of bands like Ailstorm, the Dread Crew of Oddwood. But I fell in love with the instrument and I wanted to find new places to play it in. So since I've taken it to jazz and free improv and avant-garde Western music, so this ensemble has helped me explore the more global application beyond pirate metal. I've been able to apply that to my composition and my general outlook on music. So it's been fantastic.
It's great. My name's Gabe, and I play darbuka. This actually is my first time at BG taking a music performance class. I'm not a music major, and it's proved to be a really awesome experience. I really like foreign language. I study Japanese, and there is just this thing that music does that transcends like language, transcends like identity, and it's something I've always liked with foreign language, but I really discovered that with music by participating in this ensemble. For example, we all played at the International Festival just outside of Toledo, and there are people that I would not have met before, would have communicated with, and it's just this general bond, synergy that like we create by like playing music. You're taking the interest in someone else's culture and doing like the practice to play it, and it's just awesome. Like it's like a feeling I've never had before, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this ensemble to have that.
Chris, where can listeners hear more of this music or follow what you have planned in the future?
Well, yeah, I did want to say that right now in this room we have mostly people who are music majors who work within the College of Musical Arts, except for Gabe, who has lovingly joined us. But this is not the full ensemble. As I mentioned before, this semester, this ensemble is not technically running. Normally, we also have a handful of community members. This ensemble is open not just to any BGSU student, but also to members of the community, whether you're somebody who grew up listening to this music, who knows it well, who loves it, who wants to say, oh, I want to sing such and such, then tell me and we'll work it out. Or if this is something that's completely new, we have at BGSU a number of world music ensembles. We have an Afro-Caribbean ensemble, which Harold and Hayden both perform with. Michelle just performed with we have a music of the Caucasus and Central Asia ensemble that just had a concert. So in the spring, we'll be running this ensemble again with a number of new people who have not played this music before, some of whom are learning new instruments, some of whom play other instruments, some of whom don't, right? And I would love for anybody who is interested to reach out and get in touch with me. My name is Chris Witulski, and my email is CWITULS@BGSU, because we do almost the full name email addresses here. Often in like the College of Musical Arts and in music performance classes, we have this idea where you have to play what's on the page, right? You have to respect what the composer wrote by playing what's on the page. It's a very like European sense. It comes out of a history, right? There's a history to that. But here I write out these transcriptions, and you don't have to read music to join the ensemble or anything like that. But I write these out, and what's fun about this ensemble is if you play what's on the page, you're doing it wrong, right? Like that just gets you started, except for like a few examples. There are a few exceptions to that. But in general, this is about taking what's on the page and then making it work in a different way, right? And everybody's going to do it differently. And as long as it's like stylistically appropriate, and that's what we work on all semester, it starts to sound more right? So yeah, please, anybody, come and join us.
Thank you so much for coming in and performing today. Listeners can keep up with other ICS happenings by following us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. You can listen to Big Ideas wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Please subscribe and rate us on your preferred platform. Once again, in this episode, the Middle Eastern Music Ensemble featured Harold Hayes, Hayden Mesnick, Samantha Stack, Michelle Table, Gabe Wagner, and Dr. Chris Witulski. The script for this episode was researched and written by Delana Harris. Sound engineering for this episode is provided by Brendan Akatura, Phil Beskid, and Marco Mendoza.